Hello, Peter47890 Cyrus here, and welcome to Sirus Gaming Corner, a bi-weekly podcast where I, swordfish1390, and ForestReview talk about various gaming-related topics. From talking about games of the past to upcoming games, everything is fair game as far as discussion goes. So, how are you guys this evening?
Doing good. Glad to be back on.
I am doing well.
So, for today's topic of the day, I thought with the recent release of Persona 5 Royal, it'd be fitting to talk about a series that we all know pretty well, which is, say, the Persona series. Most notably Persona 3 to 5, since those are the Persona games that most people think of when they think of the Persona series. Though I do think we will briefly talk about our thoughts on Persona 1 and 2. Well, let's get into it then. Persona. What can be said about the series that started off as a spin-off of the Shin Megumi series? Well, a lot of things in case of Persona 3 through 5. Yes, Forrest?
Oh, my bad. I thought, if you consider, I guess Persona 1 had two parts.
I think it was Persona 2 that had two parts. Yeah.
That was Persona 2.
Yeah.
Persona 2 did, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I don't remember much about Persona 1, but I do own the PSP version of Persona 1. That to me is probably the best definitive version of Persona 1 because it has the remix music, which is outstanding. And I do believe the overhaul of the cutscenes and the actual in-game graphics engine that they use for it does really a stellar job to modernize the game, but still has that PS1 aesthetic to it. And I did like the charm of the music being more relatable to Persona 3 and 4 in its design. But I think the issue of 1 and 2 for me is the way that you fight in combat and the way you recruit Persona. It's to me it's like hit and miss.
Negotiations.
It's so hit or miss in that game.
Hey, got to love negotiations, man.
They are the worst thing ever.
It really pulls down
Hey,
the
man. Yeah.
fun and the charm of both Persona 1 and 2.
I love the RNG, man.
You don't love when a demon asks you a question like, "What's its favorite food?" And then if you guess wrong,
how would I know its favorite
and then
food?
if you guess wrong, it attacks you.
It attacks you
That's
or
not fair.
runs away
Like I'm
while you're
supposed to
hit.
know.
Okay. Maybe it doesn't ask for its favorite food, but the negotiation system in Persona 2, from what I played, is so random. It might as well have asked if what's my favorite food.
It gets to a
And
point where
that's
I just click on things randomly until something
Yeah.
good happens because there's
And
no
that's
rhyme
one
or
of the main
reason.
reasons I think we as a group here have sort of accepted those two games as what's established Persona 3 and going forward. We don't just pretend they don't exist,
It's
but
just like,
most in the community would pretty much agree that those games are kind of more for the hardcore, the old school fans of Shin Megami Tensei, because there's a split between the newer fans and the older fans who have a disagreement at which is better. The negotiation system is really one of the hindrances of the game. Of course, I do think both 1 and 2 primarily does have a charm that neither 3, 4, or 5 will ever compare to. They're different in its own league, being that Persona 1 played almost like a first-person dungeon crawler with turn-based JRPG elements, and the second game was similar to the first, with the top-down isometric view. But I mean, can I see myself playing through those games? No, I feel like I get bored. I can't play them very long, so I kind of stopped playing them. The PSP versions do run pretty well, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I will say I didn't think Persona 2's music is as good of a remix as Persona 1's was.
I will say that Persona 1 and 2 probably does feel the most. Well, I'm not like a big expert on Shin Megumi Tensei since I only play Shin Megumi Tensei 4 on the 3DS, but it did seem from what I played of Persona 2 seems to be more in tune with that style, with how it seems like a more traditional dungeon crawler than Persona 3, 4, or 5. with there not even being like a time management system being in Persona 2, and I think it's not in Persona 1 as well, right?
No, it's not. But that's ideally what makes those games
Yeah.
very different. Is that you have to time manage
Yeah,
everything.
the
At three,
overall, the
four, and five.
overlying structure of Persona 1 and 2 is just so different from 3, 4, 5 that I
You
think,
can
I
almost
could see why it might be jarring to like
yeah,
existing fans when 3 came out. They probably threw them off.
yeah,
well. You also got to consider too when you play those games, especially after playing 3, 4, and 5. Especially if you played 5 before you played any other ones, and you go back and try to play the first one. It really feels like an old school first person dungeon crawler with a storyline. And very difficult to navigate where to go because the game is very cryptic. It doesn't hold your hand and tells you this is what you need to do to progress the story. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know who you're supposed to go at half the time. The game really does a good job of keeping you confused because there's a lot of investigating you have to do in the first game. If you've never played the first one, where you're in a newspaper agency, you have to kind of figure things out.
yeah. That's
So
the part.
it's more along the lines of limited investigating. You know what I mean?
That's the part
Until
that
you
made
figure out what you're supposed to do.
me. That's the part that made me quit Persona 2, really, because I didn't know where to go. At a certain point, it's like,
Yeah.
Plus, the dungeons are so like large or just
Yeah.
like mazes, and it gets easy to get lost.
yeah.
You know what it reminds me of maze wise, Sword? Remember Mine Zero?
Yeah, I'd say Mine Zero is more in tune with Persona 1 than 2 though, because they're
I
both
would
first
agree
person.
because that's exactly how it reminded me of when I played that game. That similar first person aesthetic. Although I would say Mine Zero is better. It does a better
Then
job.
Persona 1, yeah, it's definitely a better game, even though it's quite flawed in itself. But yeah,
Yeah. That's another game we can talk about another time. But that's how I feel about Persona One. It's not a horrible game, but it's just archaic. It's an old school design that modern fans of Persona won't find too appealing. It's good to have in your collection though. If you're trying to collect every Persona game, it's definitely worth having them.
Like
Because God, you're gonna
like
see an
I
arm and a
wanted
leg.
to play
Just one
through
person.
Persona 2, just because I heard that the story's good, but I couldn't just push through the gameplay, just because I didn't know what to
yeah, it's
do,
just
and then
just the
negotiations like irked me the more I played it with how random it could be. But yeah,
the thing is like it's not even just that I just don't like negotiations. Period. In any Shin Tensei game, they're just total RNG.
That's one of the reasons I
It's
never could
very
finish them.
frustrating.
I could never finish them because of that reason.
I dropped 1 and 2, and I mean at most I might watch a let's play just to see how the story unfolds, but that's
I played
all I'm gonna do.
4. I played Shin Megami Tensei 4 for a bit, but I think I got lost too, trying to find Sumbu Kong for a side quest. But yeah,
They're definitely hardcore. Like a lot of the Shin Tensei games are really hardcore dungeon crawlers.
That's really a good way to kind of describe those games.
like
They're very hardcore.
I don't mind like exploring, but I do need some direction. Like
Mhm.
Dark Souls is a game where it's totally vague about where you have to go, but at least gives you a direction. Even in Dark Souls 1, where at the beginning you're told you have to go to two places to ring a bell from the top or bottom, so you at least have know a direction where you need to go. And Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Persona 2, it's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. It doesn't give enough direction for me to like start off. That's why it feels overwhelming in those games, at least to me.
Like,
Also
it's
think of it like this: 1 and 2 are almost like they expect you to kind of know how this system works. And not only that, but I think they were kind of going for a very mature audience to play those games anyway. So they kind of expected you to investigate and learn as you go. Whereas Persona 3 and 4, you kind of followed a path of where to go because the story kind of pulled you along and you didn't really have to do a lot of you investigate in those games, but not on the level and on the scale that 1 and
Like
2 did.
the main progression of Persona 3 and 4 5 is straightforward. The part that needs some more like exploration and figuring out is how to get your max social links.
Mhm.
But that's okay since it's side content. The
Not
social
only
links
that,
are
but
all side content.
it's not only that, it's fun.
Yeah.
Whereas Persona 1 and 2 didn't really feel like it was fun to be lost. And negotiating didn't really feel like fun because you didn't know what to do. You didn't know
It's
what
funny, like
questions or answers to give to the enemies.
I feel like Persona 2's like core combat is actually not bad. The turn-based system is pretty
Oh,
good.
it's far better.
Like, yeah, it's actually like pretty decent. You could actually like swap turns with other characters to like sneak in skills you might want to use. So it's a pretty decent turn-based system, but it's everything surrounding it that makes it a slog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all. I think we said what we want for Persona 1 and 2. Unless you guys want to add something more to it.
Other
I
than
think
the fact
that
that
covers it.
both 1 and 2 were remixed music and remixed cutscenes, some actually added modern cutscenes introduction. I would say that's about it for me. I don't have much any more to say about it.
Persona 3 through 5. What can be said about these unique set of games? Well, a lot of things. What with the setting taking place in modern Japan, the gameplay dividing itself between traditional RPG dungeon crawling, monster collection, and life sims / time management elements, a lot of the calendar system and the social link system, the stories and characters having elements that have this more down to earth and urban aspect to it, though also still having the fantastical elements. Heck, the musical style each game brings is also pretty different from the usual RPG. From Persona 3's rap style, Persona 4 Japanese pop, to Persona 5 acid jazz, each of these games have a musical style on their own that makes them stand out not only from each other, but also to the usual musical style you find in most other RPGs. So yeah, it's an overall unique set of games, and those unique elements really made it stand out compared to its contemporaries. Of course, just having a unique elements by itself doesn't mean it's good, but luckily, most of these elements were executed pretty well. So, anything you guys want to add before we discuss Persona 3 and 4 and 5 individually?
I mean, Persona 3 was definitely a really large landmark in
Mm-hmm.
RPGs, and I feel like a lot of games, even today, kind of copy certain parts of it. Like, I can't even count how many RPGs have come out within the last decade that use the same or at least a similar social sim kind of system,
Yeah.
like Trails of Cold Steel and Fire Emblem Three Houses, and
Not just that game.
Uh,
I could go on
Blue
and on.
Reflection also does that.
well, Fire Emblem Three Houses already always had a support conversation system, and like from Fire Emblem,
But I
Binding
believe
Sword.
I believe Sword is referring to the whole school aspect.
The school aspect. Okay.
Because
Yeah, like kind of like the day-to-day life and
Okay.
hanging out with students, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
not
So
just that, but in Blue Reflection, that's the same thing. If you've ever played, have any of y'all played Blue Reflection?
No.
no.
It's actually quite good. It's an all-girl cast school. Basically, it's actual school where it's only girls. But what's interesting about the game, it actually goes to real life events of the students. And one of the things I like about the game is outside of you going into like a turn-based combat system in like the subconscious of humans' thoughts, the girl has the ability to take those thoughts away from them because those thoughts are what's tearing them apart. So you become friends with them essentially, and those friends, if you're able to recruit them as your friend, essentially, they give you different abilities. And those abilities you can use in other people's thoughts, their subconscious thoughts, to save them from either having suicidal tendencies or maybe they're having problems at home that's making them negative. And
So
it's a real cool game because of it.
so it's like, kind of like Persona 5 changing the heart thing.
Yeah, it's exactly like Persona
That's
5.
what I thought just from your description.
Well, no, the thing about it though, even though it is similar
Yeah.
in the idea of Persona 5, it isn't exactly the same. It does try to make it its own unique
Yeah.
style. But you can obviously tell where they got the idea from. Which, by the way, that game is actually the same people that made Artillery games. Just thought I'd let y'all know.
Cool.
Okay.
But like Sword said, there are a ton of games that take aspects of Persona 3, 4, and 5. And if you've played any of those games, you'll probably think to yourself, it's not original.
Like, I don't mind if it's not original as long as it put its own spin, or at least it does it well.
That's the thing in today's society. You're never going to be a percent. It's hard. You just got to know how to make it, how to take a spin on it and make it your own. There's nothing wrong with having any, inspiration. Because without inspiration, you can't create anything new.
Let's talk about Persona 3. Persona 3, or otherwise known as the Persona game, according to some people.
My personal favorite Persona game.
It was my first Persona game, personally.
Actually, was
Yeah,
my
me too.
first.
Well, the FES version was, not the original Persona
Well,
3.
the original was. Funny enough, I worked at GameStop at the time, and I remember. So it used to be one of those EB game stores, where they converted to like a GameStop. And so I was behind the counter. Wasn't any customers in the store, and I happened to look straight forward at the PS2 section because it was right in front of the counter on the opposite side, and there was this box, this like purple darkish box sitting there. I'm looking at, I'm like, what is this game? So I happen to not be there when they gutted it. So I go walk over to the wall and I look it down. I see the game on the shelf. I pick it up. I just see the front cover, like these silhouettes. Like you don't really see faces on the front cover. It's just silhouettes of the characters. And it says Persona 3.
Oh.
And I pull out the book that's in there, this art book. And I look and I say, oh, wow, this art style looks great. They had the soundtrack CD. And I said, man, this actually looks cool. How much is it? So just off a whim, right? Off a whim, I bought it. It was $50. And I said, I don't know what this game is. It looks interesting. I'm going to buy it. It was the best damn decision of my life. I absolutely loved Persona 3. Well, what I love about the original Persona 3 box and art, and I think Sword knows because he's seen this too, I'm sure, is that just how like ominous and mysterious the box looks. It's so plain, so dark and purplish looking, but it's like it makes you curious about the game even more because there's no description on the back of the original Persona 3 case. When you take the case out, it literally is just art on the back. There's no description, and then there's no like, and you got the manual that explain gives you kind of synopsis. But if you're just looking at the case and the box art, there's nothing.
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt when I picked up Persona 3's box set originally. I was like, what is this game? And I don't remember or recall, Sword, if that was the only way you could get Persona 3 is with that box set. I don't ever remember it being released standard copy. I think it was only released with that box set.
That was how I got mine when I was in middle school. I got it at a GameStop one day, and it was in that box.
So I think they
I'm not
released
sure.
it with that box set. I think it was the only way you could get it because it never had any instruction or any like writing on the back of the case art. So I think that was the only way they sold it.
I think I remember why I bought Persona 3 now. Like, back when I was in high school, yeah, we had this Christmas party thing where we were supposed to buy each guest a present, like a Secret Santa stuff. And then my friend wanted Persona 4, but then bought Persona 3 FES by accident. So then I bought him Persona 4 by itself, and I kept the Persona 3 FES for myself, I think.
Okay. So, Sword, how did you stumble across Persona 3 for the first time?
Well, I was in like 7th grade or something. So at this point, when I saw it for the first time on the shelf, I had already played. My first SMT game was Digital Devil Saga, so I played those. I didn't beat both of them, but I played them at the time. Beat them now, and then I eventually got Devil Summoner 1. And then one day I saw Persona 3 the box, and then I didn't know what it was, but I noticed that at the top it said Shin Megami Tensei, so I'm like, oh, okay, it's the same series. So, same developers as those games, so okay, this has to be good. And then I remember at the time, I forgot who brought me there. They're like, oh, it was one of my parents, like, oh, it's too expensive. And then we didn't buy it. And then every subsequent trip to the store I would go to, they didn't have the game. So I ended up finding it on Amazon. So I got the box, the whole, the collector's edition that had the soundtrack and everything, and I plowed through the whole thing, and that was pretty much how I got it. And then I got FES like at launch, and then I basically played like almost every game in the series that came out afterwards.
FES is really an excellent expansion to Persona 3.
Controversial take here, but I think FES is the definitive version of Persona 3.
Oh,
You
it
mean
most definitely is.
You mean you don't think Persona 3 Portable is the definitive edition?
No, in this case, no, I don't agree with
I think it's the reason I say that is only because of the watered down presentation. The fact that there's no actual cutscenes because of the limitations of the system.
If you like visual novels, it's perfect.
It's not. I don't like. It's not that I don't mind the visual novel sequences themselves, but when you compare them to the PS2 versions, where you can actually see what's happening instead of having just a line of text describing to you what's happening, you know, I find myself constantly comparing it to the PS2 version. I'm like, yeah, this is way more awesome. You can actually see what's happening. So, and there's not even any anime cutscenes in it.
You know, I myself find it hard to find which one is the definitive edition. Because like Persona 3 Portable, why it does have a watered down presentation in terms of how it's more visual novel style and how there's no anime cutscenes like it was in Persona 3 FES, and I'm assuming the original, but did have the female protagonist option, which not only like change how your character looked, but also gave you new social links for you to experience and a new battle theme. So it was pretty substantial.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff there that sometimes makes me question whether it's the definitive version or not. Like, because it does have the upgraded battle system of Persona 4.
Yeah,
no more
having. Yeah, I was gonna say you can control the characters individually in it,
which is humongous. Which is a huge deal.
You don't need to get Mitsuru to use Mary freaking Kareed
on bosses, mind you.
God.
See, that's what's good about Persona 3 Portable is the ability to control their decision making, or lack thereof, at times. And plus, it having a Persona 4 battle system is a huge addition. Allows you to control every character, and I mean that's what makes Persona 3 Portable better. If you look at it from a battle system standpoint, but in terms of the story and the fact that it doesn't have the answer section in that game either. That's what makes, to me, Persona 3 FES the definitive version.
The answer is not that good though. It's not that good.
Hey, I'm sorry. I know we both got to the same boss. You couldn't beat him. But to the same boss, Sword.
Like, I played a bit of the answer.
Remember that boss?
I played a bit of the answer, and I found it so grindy that it turned me off.
No, Sword. You remember? Sword. You remember we got to that final boss?
Yeah, fuck the final boss.
Me and Sword gave up. We was like, man, forget this.
Well, yeah, I mean, because
we almost beat the game. We literally was at the very end of the answer. We got to the
I just looked up the ending. I couldn't beat.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that final boss. I think Bison's the only one who actually beat the final boss.
And the thing is, it's like Peter said, it's so grindy. Like, combat is the whole thing. You do literally nothing else. It gets so boring.
Well, no, you know the thing about the answer though, I don't really think it's terrible, but I do think it was a poor attempt of like trying to add a future arc, and it didn't work out very well.
Like that's actually like my problem too. Is like, okay, I understand that it's really just an expansion, it's an epilogue, so I wasn't expecting anything mind blowing by any stretch. But the problem with that in terms of story is that just nothing happens in it. It's just a series of flashbacks.
Whoa, Danny, you get that epic.
It's more them finding out what happened to the MC.
Right.
No,
which is nice.
No, something did happen in that story.
No, but here's the thing though. Things don't really come to a head until the final act, but everything leading up to that is just, okay, you do a dungeon, you see a flashback, you learn something new about a character, and then just rinse and repeat. Yeah. And things don't really start getting good until the final handful of hours.
Give Yukari a break. At least she actually said, I like the main character.
Sure.
Come on, you gotta give her that. You gotta give her credit. That expression was great.
Anyway, getting away from the answer. Back to the core game. Yeah. Back to the core game.
My god.
Coming back to the battle system in Persona 3, FES at least, I do think it's interesting how out of the combat systems, out of 3, 4, and 5, it has like the most amount of options in terms of types. Because like Persona 3, 4, and 5 uses the press turn combat system, which is based around hitting weaknesses. And then if you hit a weakness, you get like an extra turn. And if you hit every enemy with a weakness and they're stunned down, you can do all-out attack, which does a lot of damage, or not, depending on the type of enemy. But I do find it interesting how like Persona 3 FES has the most options, because not only do you have the usual Augie, Bufo, Zeo, you know, the fire, water, ice element in it, but you also got like striking weapons, blunt weapons in there, guns. I think guns. No guns.
I guess I had guns, so it counts.
No, spear attacks. I think.
Oh yeah, that
spear
too.
attacks. I do find how it has the most weapon types in its combat system.
Yeah, that was a cool feature.
Yeah.
And 4 and 5 lacked that, but I mean, I wasn't like heartbroken that they weren't in it, but it was neat.
Honestly, I totally forgot about those.
And it's probably the only Persona game where you had to really think about which allies to bring with you, just because if you use them too much, they get tired and they just leave.
Not only that,
you don't see that Persona 4 and 5.
I thought, I mean, I get it, but I just think that from a gameplay standpoint, it's kind of a hindrance. It just makes grind. And then on top of that, like the waypoints to fast travel in Tartarus are like it's like every dozen or so floors. So you might be put like in a bad spot where all your characters are tired, and like you're nowhere near the next waypoint. So
you know what I did?
You'll have to go back. You'll have to travel back.
I just ended up grinding to a point, and right at the end of the game, I just grinded because you couldn't get tired anymore.
Oh yeah, there's
yeah.
a point in the game where there's no time limit in Tartarus anymore. Basically.
Yeah, unlike Persona 4 and 5, and Persona 3 Tartarus is just like you do it as you go instead of being on the clock.
You still have to go through Tartarus though?
No, yeah, but like
you're not like
you need
bound to have to finish Tartarus
you need to get to a level threshold at the end of each month.
Right.
Because
right.
if you don't,
but I mean,
if you don't, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, what's good about the end of the game is that the game realizes, hey, you may not have gotten to a certain point. Hey, you may not grind it enough. Hey, you're getting sick of this tired shit. Let me get rid of it for you.
But then,
I mean is like there's no automatic game over. Like you have 15 days to do this dungeon or you get kicked back. Like that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah.
But then if you do like backloaded the Tartarus part, like till the end,
then you fuck yourself.
Then you basically have to go through hours and hours of Tartarus at the ending point, which can probably burn someone out.
There is one thing I do like about Persona 3 is when you get to those points of the phases of the moon, and you get to fight those cool boss fights in action and in the city. Like my favorite boss fight is that one where it has like Russian roulette. You spin the wheel.
Oh yeah,
that
gives the Russian roulette one gives status effects depending on where it spins, right?
I freaking love that boss fight. It's my favorite boss fight in the game.
Too bad all the full moon bosses are easy as fuck.
I mean, it added some charm to the game because you're like just fighting in Tartarus though.
I like that battle, but what I mean is that like if you look at the Tartarus mini bosses, they are magnitudes more difficult than any.
Oh, of course they are.
Any of the the full moon bosses for the most part are just like meat sponges.
Yeah, like even like the one of the full moon phases bosses is just basically a tutorial boss on how to use like an analysis ability, essentially.
I mean, I just think when you look at Persona 4 and 5, it never had anything like that. I just think it's cool that it made it into the actual world. You know what I mean? As opposed to where you're inside of a TV.
Yeah, like aesthetically, it's cool that you're literally in the city, like that, and fighting them in different parts. That's cool. Like you'll go to the nightclub and fight a shadow. You'll go to the train station and fight a shadow. Like that's neat.
Yeah, to me, it added the essential, or rather, you felt like, okay, this is serious. This stuff is bleeding into our world more and more. I didn't get the same feeling in maybe Persona 5 to a point, but I mean like in Persona 4, I didn't really get that feeling. This is being inside the TV.
Overall, like I think the combat in Persona 3, like I admit I'm one of those guys. I just did not like the fact that the AI does everything for you, especially because they're just stupid. They're stupid fucks.
You know,
I'd probably
you
say
know,
that combat-wise,
I got.
Persona 3 probably has the hardest boss out of
Yeah.
all
I
the
think it
games.
has the hardest boss. The answer is the hardest for no
No,
reason.
not even including the answer. Just final boss by itself.
No, the
Oh,
game
the
is
final
difficult only
boss.
because you can't control anybody.
Like
You know,
Unless you use Armageddon.
like Nyx.
Oh,
I
Armageddon
found,
is
I
overpowered.
found Nyx much more tougher than Izanami and
And
I can't-
Yaldabaoth.
yeah, I can't pronounce the last guy's name, man. But
Nyx
you
takes
know,
me
you know
like
what?
an
You know
hour
what?
every
What's the
playthrough.
kicker about the final boss of Persona 3? He can confuse your allies, and you know what's the worst
Oh,
thing
yeah,
that can happen?
He can,
Wait,
he
isn't
can
it?
charm
Can
you.
that boss also?
He can charm you, and then he can charm your allies, and then they can whoops! I healed the boss all the way back. To
I was
Well,
just gonna say that boss is known to heal, but when I fought the final boss, I never encountered that problem. I actually beat
He
the
only
game, but I-
heals. He only like indirectly heals because he doesn't have any healing skill by himself. The reason why the final boss can apparently heal is because he can charm one of your allies that can heal, and then they'll cast.
Like, yeah, Yukari gets charmed. Dearahan, done.
You
The thing was,
you might as well restart the battle because there's no point. All your resources are spent.
I literally was so overpowered when I got to the end of the game, and I never encountered that. I killed the boss so fast. I was like, "You're done."
But yeah,
So
combat
Oh,
is.
yeah.
It's. I think another thing that kind of grinded my gears a little bit was like when you first start the game, your AI commands for your other allies are so limited, and then you get handed new ones as you go. But it's like, why didn't I have tactics like knockdown or conserve SP like from the get go? Why are they withholding the most useful ones? Like, you know, there were times where I'm like, God damn it, Junpei, why are you attacking that down guy already?
It's so you can feel that the main protagonist is growing, man. Don't you get
Yes, so.
Not only that, but you know, Junpei was all about that toothpaste.
it? Oh my god. Ooh, Taurus is not a brand of toothpaste, man. Dude.
Oh man, I forgot my Tartarus at home. On vacation.
I don't understand how he thought it sounded like some kind of toothpaste.
Oh my god.
Typical Junpei.
Dude, Junpei is badass. I don't care what nobody says.
You know,
And
like I'd probably say like out of all like the first male characters who are basically supposed to be like your best friend type of characters,
yeah,
like Junpei,
Yosuke and Ryuji.
and Ryuji, I'd probably say that Yosuke is probably my favorite out of those characters, but
Yeah, me too.
Junpei comes second.
Ryuji, we still love you.
Yeah.
You just can be a dick to Morgana sometimes.
Oh, they're a dick to each other, still.
You gotta respect Morgana, though.
Time to go to sleep.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Let's not do that today.
Let's not do that today. Let's go sleep. Yeah, you know the voice actor that does Morgana does the go to sleep. Meme?
Oh, she made a video, right?
she
Yeah,
made
I
a
saw
video,
that.
yeah.
That was amazing. Go the fuck to sleep. One last thing though is I like. All right, I know I sound like I'm bitching a lot, but I think one last thing that really irked me was I just think Tartarus is just not fun to explore. It's really.
It doesn't really help the fact that
I'd probably
no,
say that the one
it doesn't
thing,
help the fact there's no change in
yeah,
variety
there's
of
no
style.
like the only
It's
change
all
in Tartarus
similar.
is just different floor color, different room color.
Yeah, just nothing. Literally balance swaps.
Like I think design wise, Tartarus and the TV world are still the same since they're basically random rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But
Although aesthetically, at
Yeah,
least Persona 4
aesthetically,
had
yeah.
some really cool. I think it makes, and plus I think the dungeons in Persona 4 like don't overstay their welcome.
They're nice, short, and simple. They, you know, a few floors, and you get to the area where you need to fight the boss, and it makes you're not feeling stressed out. You're not gonna make it in time, as opposed to like 3, where you kind of get to a certain point before you get to the full moon phase. You know what I mean?
Mhm. But like overall, you know, in terms of like combat and dungeon crawling, Persona 3 is flawed, but it's, you know, it works, and I think it's fine. But sometimes I really think that if you've already been spoiled by Persona 4 and especially 5, the jank of 3 might be hard to
Yeah.
get over.
Mostly,
Man, it just
it's
hey,
mostly due to
take
the
the
lack
route.
of control you have in the party. Especially in
No,
a
just
turn-based
take,
game that you expect to have more control, but the only control you really have in the original Persona 3 and FES is your main character and just having these like commands that for the AI to control.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the AI is not that bright.
Yeah, even when you like have them set where you think it's perfect, they'll occasionally do something
I do
stupid.
think that the just controlling the MC is still fun enough, just because he can control multiple personas, and then the fun of the combat system is to find out which persona would be best to use against these type of enemies, and it's thrilling because if you mess up, you're gonna die really quickly because of the press turn system. Especially since if your main character dies, it's game over. No Phoenix Downs.
Yeah, I mean that's like a recurring thing in the whole Shamu Intensity series as a whole, except for with a couple of exceptions.
Like
But
I minded that aspect for a bit in Persona, but I don't mind it anymore just because the main character of the Persona games are usually so versatile and their ability to change personas that it feels like a nice compromise almost.
yeah, yeah, I guess I could see that.
Especially in the
I think
later games where you get abilities where ally units will actually push you out of the way in terms of like a fatal blow. So yeah, it might not
yeah,
be in the case of Persona 3, but at least Persona 4 and 5, I didn't mind it. The MC dying equal game over.
yeah, like in especially Persona 5, I don't remember there ever being like any cheap deaths where I'm like, God damn it, why did my main character die? And like something that Persona 3 has, 4 to a lesser extent, but it has it too, is like the constant instant kill skills like Muto and Hama.
Yeah.
And then like they'll in Persona 3 I'll eventually like, or occasionally I'll get one shotted with those. It's like, what the fuck? Not that it doesn't happen in the other games, but like I feel like they toned it down as they went.
The other part we can talk about in Persona 3 is its tone. The edgy tone, man.
Honestly, I think the people that call it edgy are edgelords themselves because they're trying to be cool because they want to call it out.
I will say that out of all the Persona games, Persona 3 is probably the most melancholy. Probably because it deals with themes of death and how to overcome them, and how to move on from death, and how to move towards the future. So
and plus, just accepting that death is a part of life.
Part of life, yeah. Like it deals with dark themes, but there's a positive message at the end of the game. So I don't think it's like edgy. It's
that
dark,
right there
but
is
not edgy. So yeah.
Right, I feel like people just toss around that word without even really knowing what it means. Like, edgy is something that like something will happen just to shock you, just to get a rise out of you. Nothing.
Edgy
like
is Elfen Lied, okay? This is not Elfen Lied.
Akame got killed.
Oh
It handles those themes like pretty tastefully too. It's nothing there feels like juvenile.
It's especially apparent when you see main characters reacting to. There's like certain parts of the game where there are like few of our characters have to come to grips with how some of their loved ones have died, and then you see the trials and tribulations they do, and then see how they get stronger for it. Not only mentally, but also somewhat physically, as you see how their persona changes after they accept it and move on from them experiencing like the pain of losing a loved one.
Yeah, and I think that the overarching story is just, it's pretty strong. It's got a lot of cool twists and turns in it. And it's just a well done story.
I'll probably say the weakest point of the story is Strega.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of actually like having human antagonists oppose you, because in 4 and 5, as far as I remember, there wasn't anything like that. But like, But
Nyx works best as like a force of nature, as a force that you can't avoid.
Right, but like for Strega though, like they're just kind of like on the sidelines for most of the game, and
Yeah.
sometimes they'll like observe you.
They almost feel like Team Rocket, kind of, except less
Yeah,
charismatic. Though
I will say I think that
having
Chidori though was the best of the
Yeah.
three members, and she was most developed.
yeah, and that's mostly because she had like character interactions with Junpei, and we saw how she interacted. That's why we cared about her, and not
But the other two were just kind of cartoonishly evil, pretty much.
not glasses guy and
And
the
Takaya
revolver
and
guy.
Jesus dude.
Jesus guy who uses a revolver. But yeah, I think
definitely
everything
underdeveloped.
Yeah, I think everything else about the game story was really good. I like the tone. I like the dark atmosphere. I especially like how time goes on. You see more people affected by apathy syndrome, I think it's called. I think I remember. And then you see more people like just being like zombies more as the appointed time is going till Nick's arrival. It's all really
like
good.
even before you learn about the existence of Nyx, you could still feel like when you talk to the NPCs that things are like starting to come to an end even before you know it.
And then I
think that
I think it probably has the most meaningful choice between choosing the normal and true ending too. Because
that bad ending is like really kind of gets under my skin.
Yeah, like
I think
it sort of makes sense why they would choose that, since you're facing the manifestation of death, basically.
Right.
Like when I saw that choice Persona 5, it didn't make sense for me to take it.
Right. It's like, why would you? That's stupid.
Yeah. In Persona 4, I can sort of buy it, just because you know, with the supposed death of a certain character. But in Persona 3, it feels the most natural, I think. At least to me.
I think the only one, and this is going off memories, or years of memories that I might be remembering wrong, but I think one negative that I can think of is sometimes I feel like the pace is a little off, because I feel like for a lot of the game, the story bits don't really happen until full moons. Sometimes things will happen between, but a lot of the times I feel like there's a lot of like waiting.
Yeah,
not that 4 and 5 are completely free from this, but I feel like there's long stretches of 3 where you'll do a whole month where literally nothing happens.
Yeah, but I usually don't mind that, since that's usually social link time for me.
Yeah, but like sometimes you'll be like, all right, can the plot advance, please? but like the overarching plot, good stuff. Actually, Forrest has been quiet this whole time. You there?
What do you think, Forrest?
I don't think he said one word.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
You want to add anything?
Y'all said everything. I'm good.
Yeah.
At least in this case, y'all said everything I was going to say.
So,
did we take all the words out of your mouth?
The thing I can say, I mean,
I guess
if anything, I got nothing. Y'all said everything.
Okay. So sorry we stole your thunder.
Yeah.
So
I guess the only last thing to talk about is social links, like how that works and what we thought of that, maybe.
Yeah, the social link system mostly, basically like you build up points by spending time with people, and when you spend enough points with them, their social link will advance, so you can see each character side story, and these side stories were usually really interesting. My most memorable social link was probably the dying guy near the park, and then you see how what his wishes was, and how he's coming to accept his own death. But,
and even some of the social links themselves deal with the theme of death. Not even just. What are you, Forrest?
But you know what's the funniest one? You know what's the funniest social link ending?
Referring to Persona 3, huh?
Yeah, you know what's the funniest social link ending in that game?
Which one?
Maya. Where you find out that the find out that the person you've been playing MMOs with was your school teacher, and then your school teacher said that your school teacher, without knowing that you were her student, saying that she really likes you.
Oh.
Like, oh boy, that's awkward.
And then
Hey,
she even
doesn't get
asks you
excluded in
out.
that.
When you
Yeah.
confront her, she asks you out.
Oh my god. You thought that was the
It's
first? You
amazing.
thought Persona
Oh, wait a
5?
minute. You know, I just
You
realized.
thought Persona 5 was the first time you got like a
Yeah.
teacher student relationship? No, Persona 3 did it first, bitch.
Hey
No,
man,
you know
hey
what I
man.
just realized?
Kawakami is
Yeah.
best tilf.
Yeah,
You know what I just realized about the social links?
yeah.
I'm gonna get probably hated on for this, but I never fish any of the social links for all the characters in any Persona game I've played.
Oh, what? You
Because
never?
as I've mentioned years ago, it wasn't really something I focused on when I played the game. I did a few of them, but I didn't go out of my way to try to finish them all. No, it's because I didn't care for it. I mean, I felt it dragged the game down. I was more interested in the story.
But the
I
story
found
to
some of the
these.
social links to be okay. I found some of the social link stories to be kind of boring, depending on the character. It's like a wash, rinse, and repeat process for some of them. In the core idea of it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I wasn't one way or the other with. I think they were better in Persona 4 though, but my favorite. I tell you what, there is one thing I loved about Persona 3 that I did
What?
was dating two girls and having them both come into the classroom.
Reverse
That part was great.
Reverse social links, remember? Oh my god.
That was great.
Oh man, I hated that.
I loved it. I
No,
loved
I
it.
mean
That was funny.
it ruins like the thing is time management is so essential, and then times where I'll be focusing on one social link, then one that gets neglected, and then I got to spend a whole in-game day just to make amends with that character, and then that's time that could have been spent either upgrading that one or another one.
I
Fucking
will
pain in
say
the
Oh,
ass.
it was worth that cheat though. It was
I
definitely
will
worth it.
say it's interesting, but I do think it's kind of flawed in that how you like at least in like Persona 5, you only decide who becomes your girlfriend like at rank 9 or 10, and you can even say no. In Persona 3, you don't really have that choice, and the girl just get mad at you for interacting. I think, if I remember right.
I honestly don't remember how it worked. I just remember both girls come in the same classroom and gets pissed off, and you're just kind of looking like, oh crap. But you know the thing about the game was you just had to not max out. If you didn't want to date them, you had to max. You couldn't max them out.
But then you don't get the ultimate persona for that Arcana.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, I don't mean like max them out. I should say you max them out and you turn down the initial proposal thing that comes up. Because I think if you accidentally accept it, you essentially become girlfriend, right? Girlfriend boyfriend thing.
Pretty much.
I think you had to avoid it. But man, I don't think they ever used that in Persona 4. It was only in 3, wasn't it?
Actually, Persona 4 had 2 specific social links where you can reverse them for a specific dialogue choice. Which is, one of them was Naoto and the other one was that sports manager chick.
Hey, remember guys, Persona 3 is the only game we can get Tanaka as a social link.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
And Tanaka
Oh,
appears,
she was to me she was weird at times.
No, Tanaka is like the
Tanaka.
dude. The guy who sells
Oh,
stuff on TV.
Oh my god, I'm almost so off.
He's the guy who
Yeah,
sells
you're
you
right.
stuff on TV, not only Persona
He's
3.
still-
Wait,
your
you get a
money.
social link from him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that. How do you even get that though?
You
Like,
you have to hear about him from Maya, and then you have to find him in
And
the
then
mall,
you have to
and then
like,
you have to give him like
yeah. I think you have to buy something from his store
no,
first.
you have to give him like thousands and thousands of yen.
Yeah.
You have to give him like 3 separate times,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
and it was a good social link.
Yeah.
But I guess that's Persona 3. Pretty, kind of dated in certain aspects, but it's a really, really great game.
Yeah.
It's on PSN, so check it out.
For me, Persona 3 is like wine sauce. It's epic in every way possible. It's definitely my favorite game. I could definitely see Gordon Ramsay cooking that and sauteing that into a perfect equilibrium. And as long as he doesn't serve it on Hell's Kitchen.
Okay. Oh, Persona 4. Sometimes seen as the opposite of Persona 3 in terms of tone.
Well, I
Yeah,
would say
like,
I like 4.
have you seen people like passing off the investigation team as a Scooby Doo gang?
Never
Yeah,
even
that's
crossed
really
my
like
mind.
really shallow though.
Let's see
Like
the
I don't.
pictures.
I mean,
I wouldn't go that far. I
Like,
guess
it's just a meme. It's just a joke, but
oh,
Yeah.
it's happy-go-lucky.
but
All the
the
yellow
problem is,
colors make things seem lively.
I think people take that meme seriously in that they think Persona 4 is all happy-go-lucky, even though there are some dark elements to it, especially when you think the supposed death of a certain character. And then,
Well, my favorite, I would say this. What I think the reason why people are confused to be happy-go-lucky is just by the charm of the game, especially the teacher in the beginning who tells you you're on a shit list effective immediately.
yeah,
Moroka. I mean, honestly, I gotta be honest, man. I think 4 was just a good game. I enjoyed all aspects of the game. I thought the
Oh,
social links was far
wait.
better.
You only played through the normal ending, didn't you? I remember you said you only played through
yeah,
the
you
normal
didn't see
ending.
the true ending.
You didn't see the
I
true
don't think
ending.
you had the bad ending, if I'm remembering right.
I don't give a shit about that.
What you mean?
You didn't even see the
You don't-
killer. You didn't even see the rest of the story.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Wait, hold on.
You
What are we
literally-
talking about? Are we talking about
If you're at the,
The-
I'm not
the
gonna
new-
spoil what
hold on.
happens. If
Hold
you're
on.
at the hospital,
hold on. Are we talking about the expanded golden or are we talking
No,
about
we're
the
talking
original
about the
four?
original.
the vanilla version.
Okay, well let me just say this for everybody listening. Because I don't have much to say about 4. I'm gonna tell you exactly why I don't. Okay, I did beat the game, didn't get the true ending. I remember getting shit about this years ago from everybody. Now, if I were to just briefly mention this, FVS, which is kind of similar in the sense that I didn't finish the final boss and gave up when the answer, right?
But this isn't the answer.
Golden, Persona 4 Golden, I didn't finish that one either. And
Well, yeah, you said your memory got erased. For
my
Golden,
memory card
right?
got fucked up and deleted everything. So because of that, and because of the fact I never got to see the true ending, Persona 4 is a game I'm never going to touch again because I don't want to play through all those hours of gameplay.
I'd say at the very least, just watch the rest of it on YouTube and see
Yeah.
because.
Okay, hold
like-
on. What was I missing in the true ending anyway?
Wait, hang on.
No, it's fine. The game came out years ago. It's fine if you spoil it.
Well, you don't see Izanagi. Not Izanagi.
Izanami.
Izanami.
Wait. Let me ask you this. The ending you saw. Was there a part you were at the hospital and then it cuts to March and then you go back on the train, you leave? Was that the ending you saw? Like nothing happens after that?
No, I had to fight some weird boss,
Which boss?
like in this
Which
field
boss?
somewhere.
Which boss you talking
Dude, I'll be
about?
honest. It's been a long time since I played.
Was the boss a giant eyeball?
Yeah, I fought that. Yeah.
Okay. So he got
So is
like,
that
Oh,
he got like the good ending
okay.
Kinda.
Alright.
I was gonna say. What do you mean? What do you mean? Kind of.
because there's a boss after that.
I think I fought a boss after that too. Yes. You fight the guy who apparently all this time was the one that you've seen the entire time in the game. He was the one that was causing all this shit. What was that? What was that detective's name?
Was no, that's the good ending
Adachi.
still. Adachi, that's still the good ending. Or Cabbage Boy, as he's known now.
No, but didn't you fight that one at the gas station afterwards?
Oh yeah,
That's Izanami.
yeah, that's Izanami.
Right.
So you did
So you did-
see the true ending.
Why do you say
I
you
did
only? Why you say you didn't got the true ending then?
I don't remember. It's been that long ago.
my
I just
God.
remember fighting bosses. You guys still had the bad ending. I just saw okay. I'm not playing this shit again.
I don't know. You say you didn't got the true ending, so I just assume you only got the good ending.
No, I did fight the Izanai, whatever
Izanami.
person's name at the gas station. I fought. Was it Adachi? What was his name?
No,
Right, Adachi, right?
You first fought Adachi, and then the giant eyeball dude,
Yes, I fought that.
and then
You go to
Like-
the gas station, and that's when you confront.
and then like you go to like there's this brief dialogue section where they feel like something's off, and then you go to the gas station. In front is Izanami, and then
Yep.
you have to go through the final dungeon and fight her,
Mhm.
and then go talk about truth, and
Yep,
not just
I
shutting
did all
yourself
that.
off from the world and just accepting like little white lies that only satisfy you at the moment. You know, the main
Yeah, I
thing.
did all that. I actually
and all
did the
that.
whole thing, so I did get the true ending. I don't feel like I did. I feel like I did something right then.
yeah.
So there you go. All this time, all these years, I thought, holy crap, I got the shit ending of Persona 4. Man, fuck that. I ain't playing that game again. That was too many boss fights. Come to find out, it was a
I'll
true
say
ending all
this.
the time.
I'll say this. Speaking of endings, I think the true ending of Persona 3 is like the best ending of Persona.
Of course it is, man. The fact you find out the main character is sealing away all the darkness.
Well,
No,
that's,
he said
that's only the answer.
Yeah, that's only. He seals away like not Nick's himself, but humanity's desire for self-destruction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you actually get to see it. You see it, and it just sucks. He's not technically dead, but in his physical, like, you know, spiritually, he's no longer there. But he's not dead. No, you know what's crazy is how in 3, how the character just dies one day. Like he was there after you know, save everything or whatever.
Yeah.
But eventually he just dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was in his body for a certain length of time, and then he just dies. It wasn't like he died immediately.
Well, yeah.
It just kind of like he's died slowly. It was just weird. Like they knew he was going to die, but it was just kind of funny
nobody knew he was going to die. He knew he was going to die. I guess he made the choice to use his the ability to seal away humanity's.
So it was almost like he was trying to hold on to being, and like he didn't want to go, but you could tell he couldn't hold back no more. Like it's like he fought to try to stay around as long as he could, but he knew what he had to do.
Yeah.
That just kind of sucks, you know, when you think about it.
Like Nyx itself isn't like a destructive, malevolent force. It's just humanity's need for self-destruction, like them wanting to die, so they don't.
Like basically, like the incarnation.
Yeah.
Like physical incarnation.
That's what makes the ending of 3 to me so impactful, because you felt the need to save everybody, but you knew what the sacrifice would be. I mean, I really loved 3's ending a lot. 4's ending was good. Yeah. It's just I didn't feel as impactful as 4's was.
A little too cheery, wrapped up in a neat little bow.
It's too happy-go-lucky.
I will say this though. The new bad ending of Persona 4 Golden.
Oh my god, with Adachi.
Okay, yeah. Can you guys spoil it for me, because I'm never gonna play the video.
So basically, you confront Adachi about his crimes, and then you can choose if you want to side with him, because if you side with him, you destroy the evidence, and then you're.
Wait, are you in like that room in like the TV world or whatever?
No, the room in the TV's in the police station.
Oh, okay. Oh, when you get arrested and go to the police station.
No, you don't get arrested. You just go visit him.
Yeah.
And then you get a match or something like that, and then you burn the paper that was supposed to expose the killer.
And
so
then you basically cover up for him.
You literally just betray everyone and everything that you worked for.
You just betray what not only everyone, but what you've done for the past year, or a year.
Damn. And I heard Adachi like has this evil look, right, when he's like not around everybody.
He just go all Hollow Ichigo basically. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask this question about Adachi. Is he possessed?
No.
He's just fucked in the head.
He was just a shitty person.
He was bored.
He thought he was better than he was.
So he basically was like
resentment for being sent to a backwater place like.
So he hated being in Inaba. He thought it was a boring place.
He thought it was a backwater.
Like nothing mattered.
He thinks it's like a
backwater village.
Thought he was much better than he's being treated.
So why did they send him to Inaba in the first place?
I don't think the game ever specified.
So
yeah, I guess he was just sent there to work there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dachi was a piece of shit essentially.
Yeah, but then Persona 4 Arena Ultimax.
No one ever gives Arena credit for the fact it does have an actual storyline in that game, like a full-fledged Persona 4 storyline. Like no one ever gives that game credit, and no one ever gives credit to Persona 4 Dancing All Night, because that actually has a story that continues the story. It actually has a full-fledged story.
I played Arena, but not Ultimax.
Dude, I'm telling you, the story is amazing.
Yeah, I actually played Persona 4 Arena with Force before.
Oh
Once.
yeah, Mildra. Do you remember Mildra? Because I know I can get you to watch this video. Mildred the monk. You remember that fight? I know you remember. If you do, comment below.
The fight where I use Elizabeth against him. Oh my god.
That fucking shit was hilarious, dude.
Oh yeah. Random hot take: Elizabeth, best of the Velvet Room assistants.
Yeah.
Of course.
I would
Can't go
agree.
wrong with Elizabeth. Elizabeth's god tier.
Mm-hmm.
And like Margaret, I could take or leave.
You know, Margaret has her moments.
I don't dislike her, but I just find her kind of bland as opposed to Elizabeth. Who
Like,
has,
I find
this
Elizabeth much more
fucking
interesting
stuff
just because she's so interested in everything in the human world.
Yeah.
like she has like
Especially
this
when you get that
childlike
so sync for her.
Yeah.
And she's all like in the Powell.
It's sort of like Mila and Teo's Exilia, kind of. In
Yeah.
terms of her curiosity.
Oh, God, Mila, man, she was so bland.
What?
What the
What
fuck?
the hell?
At first, she was so bland. Okay, I should rephrase that.
I
What
guess.
the heck are you talking
This is me
about, boy?
personally. I'm not saying she's a bad character. Let's move on.
Hey man,
We
fractured
disagree.
Mila,
We
Tsundere.
disagree with
Okay,
you, man.
okay. I get it. I'm getting sideswiped here. I'm getting thrown off the cliff.
I think I don't know if this is. I don't think this is really that controversial,
Yeah.
but I think that out of Personas 3, 4, and 5, I personally think Persona 4 is my favorite cast of characters out of all of them.
Yeah.
So I think they're the
think
most
so.
likable, personally.
I think
like
Persona.
also-
more only
I-
just because I feel like they were going through troubled times. They really couldn't express themselves because of all the shit they were in.
I'd probably say
I
Persona
think-
4 feels. It's like the Vesperia of Cassis in Persona, kind of.
They feel
They're-
like a family.
Yeah, they interact with each other mostly because.
The humor and the jokes in
Yeah.
4 was just amazing. I just
There's more time
I
spent.
think
There's more time spent with the cast of Persona 4 as a group as opposed to Persona 3 and 5. Just because.
think the other issue, well, the other reason I don't really appeal to 4 as much, I'm not saying the characters are unlikable. I do like them. I think what it was, and I was expecting more of the darker aspect of 3 to be in 4 because 3 was so dark tone, and I didn't really get that vibe of 4, not as much. I didn't feel the urgency of saving.
It's definitely not
everyone
as
who
dark,
could.
but I do think that it has some pretty dark.
No, it
themes
does.
and moments here and there.
It's just when you're in the TV world, it's gritty to a point. When you're in the real world, it doesn't feel like nothing. Like there's no urgency. I don't get the sense that, oh my god, world's ending. Oh, it's just foggy and it rains crazily every
Yeah,
so
but
often.
that's because there's no world-ending event in Persona 4, essentially.
Right.
But that's what I mean. Like I didn't. That to me is one of the
But
things that why
that's
I
what-
prefer
that-
3.
I guess, but I think that made Persona 4 characters to feel more intimate. Just because, like,
Yeah,
We have like all the school trips and things
Yeah.
like that, and they get together and that fleshes them out.
Yeah.
but here's what's crazy about the school trip
because
since you brought.
if in Persona 3, there's only 2 events that made them go as a group together, which was the beach, when they go to the beach, and when they go to the hot springs.
And then
But what's
that's
cool
pretty
about
much it.
4
Yeah.
is that when you go to your school field trip, you actually go back to the area in Persona 3.
Yeah.
And that to me was like the first time I felt connected to.
Yeah, you go to Gekko-kan High School. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
You go to
not
Kikugan
only
High
that.
School, and then you go. There's the school festival where you get the drag show.
Oh, that was gold.
Okay, that
And
I
then
admit
you
the
got
drag
the
costume,
camping
that was
trip.
so fun.
You got the camping trip where you see
Oh,
everybody.
the camping trip when they
where you
make the
saw
food, the guys get
Yosuke,
sick.
where you saw Yosuke being wary of Kanji just because of what
Yep.
he saw in his TV world.
Yep. Okay. I admit this
Like-
shit's funny.
Like,
There are
But
some.
Persona overall just had so many more events with the characters being together as a
I just
group.
thought. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm probably saying this very bluntly, but I thought 5's characters just wasn't as charming as they were in. Now, I'm not saying all characters. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
If you combine all the characters in 5 and you compare them to 4, I don't think they're as appealing as 4's were. I think 4's characters were just they worked together well. They were just the cast, just overall personality wise, just
And
Just great.
they feel a lot more down to earth compared to
Yeah.
the cast of 3 and 5.
I just hate the fact that she has 2 different voice actors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because
I
you
do
play
like-
the original Forest voice of Chie, it just sounds so like down to earth and just good. And then you play FES. I mean, I'm sorry, FES. You play Golden, and she sounds so cheerful and like over the top.
It's like super duper high pitched.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite feel the same.
I get why some people might think she sounds a little too old for her age in the vanilla version, and I thought that at first too, but it just kind of grew on me after a while, and then when I played Golden,
it just worked well. Is that the reason I didn't reprise her role, or was there another reason?
I'm not sure what's
what
the
happened.
reason. I'm not sure what's the reason.
We missed Chie original comeback.
But
Chie
I
original.
really like how the dungeons are thematically tied to the
Apparently-
different characters.
Apparently, the old voice actress for Chie, that was her only role. So she
Really?
never came back. So I guess it's just a one-time gig.
Wait,
One
she
and done,
only
I guess.
voice acted for one game, and it happened to be Persona 4.
Yeah, apparently.
What the hell? She was good at it.
Yeah, she did a good job. I think she deserves more.
She
work,
was good
but-
at it. That just blows my mind. Like, that's the kind of strange when you have someone who does a one-time gig on a very popular series, and it happens to be the only thing you did, and you did a good job with it. It's amazing to me.
About Persona 4 story and characters, I think the most interesting part of Persona 4 story and characters is its theme of truth, and how throughout the story you get characters dealing with sides of themselves they didn't want to come to grips with, but have to in order to move on.
Well, the battle theme says it best. Reach out for the truth.
Yeah.
It really is.
But I think it's really interesting how each character, how you explore each character insecurities, and how you have to convince them to accept themselves and move on, like accept that they have this sort of not good side to them, so they can become even like stronger people through that acceptance. I thought that was pretty interesting, and it goes through a variety of issues. Like with Yukiko's sense of being chained down to her inn just because she's like the daughter of the innkeeper, or with Nato's like thinking that she wants to become a guy just because how female are viewed on society and how you don't really find much female in the detective force. Stuff like
and
that.
let's not forget, everything's great at your Juness.
Yeah. Everything's great at your Juness. Or Kanji's, or Kanji's like sense of like thinking if being feminine is okay or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts on this like tough guy act to shield that.
To shield that, yeah. I think it's really interesting how they went to each character insecurities.
I think that's what makes that
Persona
game
4
charmful
really...
too. Is just the fact that they go through all those struggles. You get to see their true, how they really feel on the inside. You know what I mean? And you come to the realization that everyone in some form in that game has some insecurity about themselves. They don't want other people to see. And when they finally,
I just realized that Kanji's insecurity is like almost the opposite of Nato's.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that.
But yeah,
and I think that Persona 4 I think is really well written as a whole.
it's a good story.
The mystery is interesting, and the characters are well written. It's really enjoyable.
Definitely a good story, good cast of characters, especially with Golden. It adds so much more content to the story that it already had, and it expanded so much more on the game. And that extra, epilogue they added towards the end of the game made the game so much better. I mean, longer too. Like if you're going to play Persona 4, get Golden. Yeah, it kind of sucks on the Vita. Yeah, you got to get a expensive memory card. Yeah, good luck trying to find a Vita itself, but it's worth it. It's such a good game.
Yeah.
And overall, and I think it goes without saying, but like the gameplay as a whole, I think is definitely improved in basically every aspect.
Yeah, because you get to control all the characters. You get to, Yeah.
The main element that improved from Persona 3 to 4 is mostly the ability to actually control your party members, and party member themselves having certain skills you can use in battle. I think
Mm-hmm. It's always good with nachos and cheese.
so. That was a pretty interesting part of the improvements in terms of the combat, and also Persona 4, like I said, like kind of streamlined the combat in Persona 3, since you didn't have any physical, like different physical attack attributes now. It's just like physical attack, but I think that actually helps it since it make it more streamlined in guessing what the elemental weakness of your enemies is, rather than just going through each attack.
Yeah, it made it a little easier to exploit the weaknesses and figure out what's what.
Yeah.
And Persona 4 was the one to introduce the whole thing of allies being more versatile and how they can help you with like follow-up attacks, protecting you, things like that. So it gave you more. Like that's the other thing too, is like in Persona 3 you found it kind of weird that you really can't form social links with any of your party members except the girls, just so that they can be romances, really.
Yeah.
I thought that was strange that you couldn't have friend social links with the guys. Like, to me, I mean, it's fine if you know, why did they exclude that out?
I don't know.
Well, you know what? Wasn't Persona 3 the same way?
What?
You couldn't get a social link with Junpei or
No, you can't do that. Oh, you can only do that in Persona 3 Portable.
Yeah, you can do that.
Well, no. I know that with the female character, but I mean,
in Persona 3 Original.
Original, yeah, I thought it's the same way too.
No, in Persona 3 Original and FES, it's literally you can only form social links with the girls.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you know who the original magician Arcana was in Persona 3?
Oh, Kenji.
Yeah, Kenji. It
Fucking
wasn't
loser.
It wasn't like Junpei. It wasn't Junpei.
Yeah, Junpei was magician.
Yeah, like Junpei was the magician Arcana of the group, but he isn't the magician social link in Persona 3.
No, he's not.
Which is weird.
Well, at least they rectified it in Persona 5.
Yeah.
And 4, yeah, 4.
4. Yeah, 4. You get social link with the guys in Persona 4. It's
I think there's
or the original.
In 4 original. Because I remember there being a social link with Junpei. Not Junpei, with Yosuke.
Oh, really? No, you're right. There was
where you get the stereotypical bros punching each other.
But basically, I think Persona 4 basically takes the exact same gameplay structure of 3 and just polishes it and expands on it. It's basically
not only does it polish it up, but puts it in a nice Bentley and drives it down the street to Winchester Castle.
Okay, yeah. So, Persona 5. Whew.
This one's a big one.
Yep. Let's see. I'd probably say Persona 5 has the best gameplay in the series.
Yeah.
Not only because of the combat system and the improved elements to it, like the biggest aspect to me in the combat, the biggest thing to the combat to me is confident abilities. Like confident abilities added so much to the combat. Like if you get the Hifumi confidant link ability, you're able to switch party members, man. That's so good.
That is literal game changer.
Yeah.
I never got that ability, so I didn't even know that was in there.
That's why you need to do your
So you gotta do the social links.
That's what you need to do your social links.
Okay, I
missed
did it.
out.
Right?
You missed out on
social links, but still, I beat the whole game without doing the swap ability. So
you missed out on a pivotal gameplay mechanic.
You missed out on best girl, man.
Oh no!
Best girl? Wait, hold on. Who's best girl?
No, Hifumi, no. She's okay.
No, hold on. Who's best girl in the game?
I don't know.
Futaba, obviously.
Depends who you ask.
Futaba is the best girl in the game?
Futaba, obviously. I mean, there's only one right answer.
About that.
There's only one right answer.
Yeah. You mean Makoto?
It's a weird way to say Futaba.
Of course, Makoto. I mean, wait, what? I'm sorry, nah. I mean, Futaba's okay, but
What?
Oh shit. The waifu wars has started.
The waifu
wars has started.
I don't know.
But
Someone's telling me I messed up. Oh God.
yeah,
Can we agree? Can we agree that Haru is the worst?
Of course,
yeah.
I agree with that for sure.
I think she's a really boring character.
I think
Nah,
Haru's
she's
problem.
not,
Haru's problem is that she
not
came.
boring, but she's definitely not
She didn't put
very interesting.
like Haru. Problem is that she didn't make much presence in the cast just because
Yeah.
she joined in the middle of Morgana and Ryuji spit like back and forth when they were like.
Yeah, she's such a late game character
Yeah.
that by the time you get to her, by the time she joins you, it's like you're like very.
Not only
very late
that,
in
but
the
she
game.
joins the part where Morgana is having his fit about
Yeah.
him like having doubts of him being a human. No, his like he think he's useless to the party now that Makoto's here, just because Makoto's doing and Futaba, because they're both doing his job now and better than him.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to face reality.
But like I think the one of the reasons why the confidant abilities are so such a great addition is the fact that like
Like
in every Persona game, the benefit from social links is you get experience when you fuse personas. But like if you look at Persona 4, outside of your party members where you get like battle abilities for your party members, I feel like if you're not doing I always feel like I'm more pressured to do the party members because I feel like I'm just not getting as much out of the other ones gameplay wise.
yeah.
Whereas in Persona 5 there's always a major benefit depending on the confidant.
No, yeah, I like that they give a use to the social links in general. I mean, like gameplay wise, because in Persona 3 and 4, you mostly do the social links to find out about their story more than about the gameplay. I mean, being able to unlock their ultimate persona for their relative arcana is nice, but you don't really feel that progression into end game, basically. But with the way how they introduce confidant abilities and improving upon those confidant abilities upon leveling up the social links, that feeling of progression is more gradual, and so you feel more satisfied doing the social links in Persona 5 than you did in Persona 3 and 4.
And the combat itself is just it's basically 3 and 4, just it's even more refined.
Yeah. Hey, negotiation is back.
At least
Yeah,
I
but
will
it's
say
better,
at least
though.
they,
Not
at least
like
they
1 and
streamlined
2.
them.
Yeah.
And there's even like there's like one confidant where you can like bypass negotiations altogether. I think it was the politician that helps you with that. I think there's a part where, or no. It was the kid that teaches you how to fight with a gun, and you can like do the warning shot ability, and then force the persona to get the persona right away.
You know what's the funniest part about starting each confidant?
What?
It's like when you start each confidant, you like the entire story is like most of the story is told like through flashback. You're telling your story to Sai, and then whenever you unlock a confidant ability, it cuts back to Sai saying, how can a high school student like you know these skills? Who taught you?"
Yeah.
And then when you get to the kid who teaches you how to
Who taught you how to
shoot
fight?
from an
Who taught you how to fight
arcade,
with a gun?
and then
Yeah.
and then it cuts back to Sai like, "Who taught you how to shoot?" And then it cuts back to the kid and the Joker playing arcade.
That's some good training right there.
That's really funny.
You probably think we should probably ban this game.
But yeah. Overall, I think Persona 5 overall is a really good game. I like the theme of rebellion in it. And overall, like, I think the story does drag a bit. But
Yeah, I agree with that. For me personally, I think it drags towards the end of the game.
I think the last little bit with Yaldabaoth was a little
overkill.
tacked on.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting how, like, they changed the voice actor. So
For a certain character.
yeah, for like certain character. Well, we thought it was a changed voice actor, so we didn't think much of it. But when the reveal came, like, oh, I guess it should have been obvious in
that's what
hindsight.
So wait, someone got voice change in Royal also?
No,
No,
no.
P5 original.
Huh?
Like, we tell you later since it's a spoiler.
Okay.
In terms of main
And I,
cast,
I honestly, I really, oh, actually, I was just about to say that. Actually, I do like the Phantom Thieves. I think they're
yeah,
really good characters.
I think they're
I like
good. I just don't think
Mhm.
they're as good as Persona 3 and 4 cast.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm trying to decide. I might like them a little bit more than the Seas cast, to be honest. Slightly.
I
I
yeah,
I like the cast of 4 better than 5, but I like the cast of 3 better than 4. So
I'd probably say the
so
problem with Persona 5 cast is that, like, Persona 4, all the character development is kind of front loaded when you go to the pad, when you go to your TV world.
Hmm.
But then that's not a problem because you get to spend a lot of time with the Persona 4 cast and see their interactions. And seeing those cute interactions make you adhere to the character cast of Persona 4. In Persona 5, it's the same thing still, with most of the development is kind of front loaded when a new character gets introduced. Like Ryuji's character development is kind of front loaded with his spiel with what?
Kamoshida.
With Kamoshida. Same with Anne. Like most of the characters is like that, but you don't really have that same close connection with.
Yeah, Persona 5 does have some pretty like memorable character moments, like with some of the school trips. I don't think they're as good as 4's,
Yeah.
but they're more prevalent than in 3, and I think they're pretty
Yeah,
entertaining. They're not as
But in Persona 3, the character development is more gradual.
yeah.
When Persona 4, in Persona 5, all the character development is pretty front loaded, and then you got really nothing to do with the characters after that. So, which is why I think the Persona 5 cast isn't as memorable, at least to me.
Hmm.
Because at least Persona 4 got like a bunch of school trips and events together that make them as connected as they are in Persona 4. In Persona 5, there's not many elements where they hang out together, like just as friends.
Yeah. Like the characters of 4 had a lot of chemistry.
Yeah.
And the dialogue and interactions are like really organic and natural.
In Persona 5, you don't really get that since, like, some of them are not even from the same school. So, no, they do hang out with each other.
In its own way, I think that kind of adds a little bit more variety. Like in the sense that like, oh, you got this kid from another school who you don't see, and you know, like Yusuke and I think there's another one that went to a different school too. I can't remember.
Oh, Futaba didn't go to school.
Oh yeah, she didn't go to school at all, did she?
No, she didn't.
Yeah. It makes me think though. Hey man, Persona 6, man, we gotta have adult characters.
Yeah. It'd be
Get us out of high school. At least college. Make us a college student or something. I hate high school now in games. I hate it.
So,
And I really and I do think that the actual storyline of 5 is really interesting.
yeah, I do like how I like the world building in Persona 5 a lot. And how they explain the carnival world, and especially like the plot twist that revolves around the carnival world down the road, because it gets you, but it makes total sense because of what you've been told. And it's that plot twist that's like, oh, I see it, yeah, that makes total sense. It doesn't it seems to come out of nowhere, but it makes total sense once you think about it.
Right.
And it capitalizes on the excellent world building the game has.
But yeah, it's definitely I think overall it's a well written game.
definitely.
And I think that the confidant self-contained stories are also interesting for the most part. There's only a couple of weak ones.
Yeah.
Although I
feel
will
like
say
the
though, I
old-
forgot to mention. Huh? No, go ahead.
also feel like with the 5, because of how more expansive the story is with the characters, I feel like the game also felt very related to real life, where you're in a constant move. You're overwhelmed, schoolwork, working, and then having to do social things. I feel like the balance just felt like you were overwhelmed. I felt more overwhelmed doing everything in 5 than I did in 4 and 3. In a good way, I mean, not in a bad way.
Like, I think its themes of rebellion is really interesting too. But
And I do like how there's a lot more like kind of human antagonists
Yeah.
compared to 3 and 4, where they felt like an immediate threat as
Mhm.
opposed to kind of like just the supernatural unseen forces in 3 and 4.
Yeah.
There was always a foil.
Mhm.
I think Kamoshida takes the cake as probably like the most evil character I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's evil in Persona 5, all the characters who you change.
They're
But I think
basically
Kamoshida,
they're basically distorted selves because
right?
of how they're in the cognitive world.
hmm
But yeah.
But yeah, I think Kamoshida takes the cake though, as he's the most evil. There was no character I wanted to deck more than him. And oh man, Persona 5, the memes.
Oh
The
my
memes.
god, the memes. So many memes.
Hey man, I'm gonna have pancakes for dinner.
Ew.
Delicious pancakes with lots of syrup and butter.
But I'm your teacher. That makes it even better.
Hey man, Kawakami,
Yeah.
best teacher in a video game.
Mhm.
Only maybe rivaled by Sarah Valstein.
Mhm.
Maybe.
And more Oka to boot.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything else we should add to Persona 5?
I like it's really stylish.
Oh yeah.
Super
Stylish.
Beautiful game, man. Probably the
Aesthetic.
fastest turn-based combat system of any game I ever played.
Well, just the aesthetics, like
Yeah.
the menus and everything. It like, and despite how flashy everything
Mhm.
is, it's the menus are so easy to use.
Yeah.
Like the style isn't like distracting. Everything's really easy to navigate.
Oh,
It looks great. And
I forgot one part.
Hmm.
What you guys thought of Persona 5 having more traditional dungeons than the
Oh yeah, it was a lot. It had fixed dungeons. That was
Yeah.
a lot better.
Yeah.
Because in Personas 3 and 4, they were just randomly generated hallways.
Yeah.
Really, they're just mazes. You
They're
know,
just
there's
randomly
not.
generated dungeons for
Where in Persona 5, I mean, there's like puzzles. I mean, they're easy, but like there's puzzles to solve. There's you can climb on certain parts of the dungeon.
I do like
There's-
the aesthetic of the dungeons a lot because not only does each area look unique, but I do think it integrate the thief part of the aesthetic really well in the dungeons, with you jumping from one place to the other, you having to sneak around, there being a stealth mechanic in terms of surprise enemy encounters.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen anything like that
Yeah.
in an RPG
And
in a turn-based.
I do like how each dungeon was unique too, since it made each part of the dungeon crawling to feel unique from each other, rather than like in Tartarus or in the TV world, where like even in the TV world the aesthetic was different, but the process of dungeon crawling still felt samey. Just Persona 3.
Yeah, like they're aesthetically more varied than 3, but they're
Yeah.
still basically just mazes.
Yeah.
So overall, yeah, Persona 5 really great game.
Yeah.
So I think the last question is, with all this being said, what is everyone's favorite Persona game? I know Forrest said 3, right?
Mine's probably 3 as well.
Okay.
Like the story themes of death is just so poignant to me that, and I do like the character development they get from it. Especially thought it was so cool to see their persona change as the game went on.
Yeah,
Into
as
the
opposed to
story.
4 and 5, where you only get them from maxing out their social links, whereas
Yeah.
in 3, when it happens, it feels like it's more natural,
Yeah.
a natural progression because
The,
it happened.
the other thing
automatically.
about 3 too is just the urgency, the sense of the world is really going to die if we don't save it. The whole apathy syndrome, as you played through the game, really showed how dire the situation was. Close you got to the end of the year,
Yeah.
like it really.
yeah,
You just felt the need to try to do what you needed to do.
Persona 3 just had the best atmosphere, themes, and story to me. Even though the characters and gameplay wasn't the best in the series.
The story just made it worth playing. Like I couldn't put the game down, especially when I got to this December, where it really started to kind of get crazy.
But that's I do like the gameplay of Persona 3 still.
Yeah, as flawed as it might be in certain spots, it's
Yeah.
certainly unique.
And it is still interesting.
for the time.
It is still interesting in some aspects still. Just because
Kind of makes me want to
just
actually
because
play.
of the different physical attributes you see in the combat system, the fact that your allies can get tired, it's still really.
It makes me.
it's
It does
still
make
really
me want to play.
Overall unique.
It also had fusion
It does
spells,
make
which
me
were
want to
pretty
play.
cool.
It does make me want to play Persona 3 Portable,
Mhm.
just because I want to see what the female characters' side of the story plays like.
There's quite a bit new stuff, a bit
Yeah.
of new stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but gotta get
What-
used to that
yeah.
visual novel style aesthetic.
What's your favorite Persona game then, Sword?
I'm gonna be honest with you, and no, that's not controversial. This game is super
No.
popular. I'm gonna say Persona 5. That
Persona
one
5?
was my.
I thought you were
That's
gonna
actually
say.
kind of shocking because I know you like
I thought you were
4
gonna
a
say
lot.
Persona 4 for a minute.
I thought he was gonna say 4 too.
I kind of go back and forth sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's certain aspects of 4 that resonate with me more, but I think 5 is probably the best like overall package. Whether the story is as good as 3 or 4 is really, I think, honestly, it's really up to preference. I think that the overall storyline of each of the games is like pretty well told for their respective messages that they're trying to send.
Mhm.
You know, 3 with the theme of death, that's I think thematically that hits home the most. But I do think that like overall,
Yeah.
5 is like the best overall game. It's the most fun to play. The story is still engaging. And even though the characters I don't like as much as I do in Persona 4, I still think they're pretty interesting characters in their own right. So I just think it's just a great game.
I do think Persona 5 does its best of making each monthly antagonist to make you invested in taking them down,
Mhm.
just because of how much of a scumbag they are usually.
Mhm.
Why?
Yeah, they're more like an immediate threat.
Yeah, and why in Persona 3 and 4, Persona 3 is just like monster of the week kind of, but instead of a week,
Right.
it's a month. And Persona 4, it's just overarching antagonists you're chasing, but there's like no
Yeah, and you
immediate
don't
threat
find out who
to
it
it. So yeah, it's not like he's killed. It's not like he's a serial killer.
Right.
He just killed one person or two person.
2 people, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's something about Persona 4 that I really like is the twist about, how you confront the killer, find out that the guy that was throwing all your characters into the TV was actually a good guy.
Yeah.
Like it really kind of messes you,
Mm-hmm.
fucks with your mind a little
It
bit.
does kind of mess with your head a bit when you realize he
I do
meant
think
well, but
each game's plot is interesting in their own.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, like they're very, very different from each other,
Yeah.
and they have their own messages, their own stories that they're trying to tell, and I think
Yeah.
that they all
do you
tell them
recall-
equally well.
Do you recall when we first got that first image of 5? When it was just that what is it called? That little barbell, that ball, and it chained to like a prison cell.
Oh yeah, and it said, what did it say? You want emancipation or something? That was literally all we got.
Yeah, we
You
kept trying to
want
figure out.
freedom.
We kept trying to
something.
figure out for the longest time what the theme behind the game would be. You know, that's what makes it so cool about every Persona game is they have a theme, a drawing that represents each theme of its game. I'm trying to remember what 4's was. I don't remember.
For what?
Like they had a art or a style of like a drawing that represented 4, but I can't remember what it was.
Did it?
Yeah, it did. It's been a long time ago.
Wasn't it
I'm
just
sure
a
I
bunch
can't
of
find it
TVs?
now.
What's up, people?
I think it was a bunch of TVs. Actually, yeah, I think it was a bunch of TVs. Yeah, actually, you know what? You're right. It was a bunch of TVs just stacked in like with a yellow background. That's all it was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But I think every game shows just how awesome the Persona series is, because you never know what to expect. You know, you never know what's coming next. You know what I mean? Like with the new Persona game, what the theme's gonna be. Like what can they do to evolve the series even more? And obviously, Persona 5 Scramble is the other game that's supposed to be continuing the story. I hope we get that for the Switch, so we can actually see what happens after Persona 5 Royal. You know what I mean? So it's a lot to look forward to.
And I'm just wondering what they're gonna do with Persona 6 whenever that happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious
Yeah.
about too. I hope you know what it does. And I'll tell you 2 things that need to. They need to get away from the high school setting. It would be nice to go into like a college setting or something with a bunch of, older people for once. It'd be a little different. It would kind of change it up a bit. Maybe we do it in another country. Maybe it could be a foreign exchange student from Japan in another country. Just saying. I don't know, just something different. But it would be nice to just see them kind of branch out and try something
A
different.
college setting would be interesting, just because you can probably choose when to go to class, and that can be the main stat to increase your intelligence.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
They also
interesting.
screw yourself over too if you're not careful. I like that idea. Yeah. Think about it. Skipping class, and then you get like a social link from one of your.
Yeah, that's a good compromise. Like, do you go to class and increase your like academics, or do you sacrifice that stat boost for a social link that maybe you can only do by skipping class, something like that?
I mean, there's so many good ideas that you could do from a college setting that you couldn't do in a high school setting. I literally could see that being like the next like step and maybe just kind of changing up the gameplay aspect of
Yeah.
it.
But with how Persona is really mainstream now, so I'm not sure if they will go for a college setting.
You never
Just
know.
yeah.
Maybe a lot of the kids, maybe a lot of people who grew up with Persona were from middle school and high school, who are now 20 in their 30s. So you never know. They could do that. It's a possibility.
Well,
If they know where their audience is, they probably would do that.
well, I think that's everything to say about the Persona series, really.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, like we really love the Persona series. They're really interesting games, and they're still really unique to this day. Even though we're getting bombarded with Persona stuff, not only for the games but anime, other type of games like Persona 4 Arena, Ultimax, All Night Dancing, and yeah. But even though like we're bombarded by a lot of Persona stuff, the games are still really unique to this day. And yeah. Well, I think that's all for today's rendition of Sirus Gaming Corner. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Peter for 7890, and well, we're basically signing off since I don't know how other to sign off. So yeah.
Yeah. We're just gonna sign off, guys.
Yeah. Enjoy. Have a good one, folks.
Take care.